common misuse of websites is having too many options all at the same time. So I like to think of a website, especially your homepage, as an airport terminal, right? Everybody's coming to the same place, but they all have a different agenda. You're speaking to the high-level grazers, right? The people who are skimming the page, and we're also speaking to those fine print readers. The words on the page, the web design, and the images, they all go hand in hand. It's like this ecosystem. They all lean on each other. One by itself can't stand alone. Speak confidently about your offers and what you do is invaluable to your business, and in a way that you don't feel like you're salesy and pushy, right? Everybody always worries about that. But when it comes from a place of, what you're passionate about, doing good work and serving others, it's always going to come through as authentic and genuine.
All right. Hi, Sam. How are you today?
Good. How are you, Nicole?
I'm so well. I'm so glad that we're having this conversation today. Being both business owners, and since we serve business owners, I thought it'd be powerful to have this conversation for anyone out there who has been thinking about their messaging and kind of getting a perspective from myself, who's a brand photographer, who's a strategist, and then someone like Sam, who's a copywriter and is bringing all that messaging into a word format versus mine is a visual format. And so I thought we both have unique perspectives. We're both business owners. So why not arm some people with some great information, some great tips to further their business? And that's what we're going to do today. First, I want to have everyone know who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And then we're going to jump into a great, helpful conversation for business owners.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Sam Bettger of Sam B. Writes. I'm a conversion copywriter and also a content writer. So I do a little bit of the sales writing. I do a little bit of the content writing, things like blogs and emails. Originally, I was a classroom teacher. I have my degree in writing, my master's in education. And a few years ago, I left the classroom, took a leap of faith, and started my own business. It's been so fulfilling. So I kind of merged those two things today, my writing and my passion for education. So I love serving people in the online business space. I specifically do sales copywriting for sales pages, for courses, especially online courses. I think those have just taken off in the last few years and really been able to bring the knowledge and wisdom that these creatives have to their ideal audience. So really my work is helping businesses connect with that most perfect client so that the person who needs what they have access it, and so that they can have a thriving business that they really feel confident in and can stand behind that messaging.
I love that. So just for context for everyone, so Sam and I have been working since last year. And as a business owner, as a creative, writing, I can just let everyone know I'm not ashamed. Like, that's not my strong suit. And I'm so grateful that I have found Sam because it really put my ideas that I've had in my head in the proper language and messaging on my site. And I've seen benefits in doing that. And yay.
Can't wait.
All right. So one of the things Sam and I have been talking about offline before this call is the website. Now, in my perspective, people still need a website today. I know a lot of things are driving businesses just to be on social, and social is key. But we also want to be able to bring that audience off of social and onto our website and convert them into customers. That's ultimately what we're doing day in and day out as we are business owners and you are business owners. So on branding photo shoots, I'll just take it from my perspective. I'm constantly talking with my clients and or working with their website designers so we know what images that they need. And many times I find that clients are at that 5-year mark where they're looking to rebrand or update their website. Many times they're still in the beginning of their website process. And I don't want businesses to forget about the copy. And that's why Sam is a critical piece to the whole puzzle. Because once someone lands on your website, yes, you want it to look great. You want it to be easy and to navigate and define your shop and define your services. But we want them to dive deeper and learn more and get into that copy. So I wanted Sam to give us some jumping off points and tips when we're thinking about the website. Those critical pieces, what do we need, Sam?
Yes. So I think it's such an interesting conversation because the words on the page, the web design and the images, they all go hand in hand. It's like this ecosystem. They all lean on each other. One by itself can't stand alone. And so it's one of the reasons it's so fun working with you, because you see that visual aspect, right? You say writing isn't your forte. The visual piece is out of my wheelhouse. So really being able to have those two things support each other is essential. So as we're thinking about website copy, I think something that is often missed is a lot of times we jump towards the web design, whether you're working with a designer or finding a template, which is a wonderful place to start. And we get so caught up in just the visuals that a lot of business owners forget about the words, and then they get to this place of like the blinking cursor, like what do I write, right?
Yes, I've been there.
Like, flashbacks to like writing an essay for high school and like so I think it's really important. And I think most web designers would agree with me that copy needs to come first. It drives everything. The words on the page are going to influence how the page is laid out. It's going to influence the kinds of images your photographer is going to take and that you're going to include on the page. So I have a few really helpful tips. And I think the most important tip is you do not have to invent everything yourself. So I think so often we think that it's like plagiarism if we don't come up with original ideas out of our head every single time. But in reality, we need to do research, and it's important to lean on what your clients and your audience are saying. You don't have to have the words. A lot of times they'll have the words for you. So my best advice, and it's where I always start, is with research. So that might sound intimidating, right? We have like thinking of like looking up tons of articles or anything like that. And it doesn't have to be so technical. It's really just talking to people. So setting up a meeting with a client, asking them if you can pick their brain on Zoom for a few minutes, or sending out a survey to your email list or your social media followers to get ideas of a few key pieces. So the first thing is, what is their biggest struggle? Like, what are they most challenged with? And hopefully you've narrowed down who your ideal audience is, and the more specific you can be, the better. We've probably all heard this phrase, when you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. So we want to be as clear and specific as possible. Once you know who that person is, you can really dig in, like what's keeping them up at night? What is frustrating them the most? And then you can think to yourself, all right, what future do I see for them that they don't see for themselves yet? And that's where you get into that messaging, right? What potential, when we work together, whether it's a service or an offer or a product, what is the potential that they haven't tapped into yet? Mm-hmm. And really asking them, what does that future look like for you? So as a copywriter, the future I envision for my clients is that they can show up and have the words come easily. They know what they stand for. They know how to speak about their services with confidence. So they're not fumbling around. They're not starting from scratch every time. Once you have that, you can really start to lay out your website copy. I love to pull out quotes. So see what themes are coming up as you talk to people, what patterns you're noticing. And that is going to be what you can really hold on to and sink your teeth into as you're building out that copy. So that's the biggest one, is research.
Awesome. I would totally agree with that.
Yeah.
There's so many gems even when I'm on a photo shoot, I'm always listening. I'm always absorbing like the key phrases that I hear over and over again. So I agree. And it can be, in the beginning, if you don't know, it seems daunting, but just start chipping away at it. So I love that tip.
And I think something really interesting too, when you do that and you go to your people rather than, right, we all are so close to our work. Sometimes we have blinders and we don't see what other people see. And I'm sure you see that with photography as well. So listening to our audience and really noticing what stands out to them the most, then you can showcase those features and the benefits of your offer that maybe you just take for granted. And that's probably what makes you really special. And you might not realize it.
Huge. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. All right. Second tip for website copy. So once you've kind of mapped out your page, really getting clear on your language, something very simple that you can do even right now to improve your website copy is change out the language to you and I language, meaning you're speaking directly to the person, your ideal client, right, at all times. So we're not saying some people or we or those vague terms. Really speak to them so they feel like you are connecting, because this really is about connection. And the other piece, especially for like solopreneurs or people who work for themselves or have a personal brand, I think it's really important to use I language. Of course, if you have a big team and that's not appropriate, by all means use we. But I see a lot of people almost thinking that we makes them sound more legitimate. And it's so interesting. So really don't be afraid if you are a personal brand to lean into that I language. That this is what I stand for. This is what my process is like. I think that makes a huge difference, and it's more authentic. And then it makes it easier for you to show up when you take that messaging into socials or into email, what have you.
I totally agree, because you don't want to confuse people either. If it's just you and you are talking in the we format. Yes.
Yes. And I'm all about aspirational thinking,
Yep.
right? If you dreams of a team in the future, I'm all about it.
Yep.
But
And
if it is just you, that is a benefit, right? It makes it more personal, and that authenticity comes through.
Love it.
For sure. And then the last tip I have is not underestimating the power of your contact page. So we typically have the home page, the about page, the services kind of mapped out, or whatever your product or offer is. And I find that contact page is just an afterthought, maybe a little form that's quickly thrown up with your email. And I think it is just so much untapped potential. It depends on your business, of course, but I really think that your contact page is a great way for you to first and foremost communicate clearly. So this is especially important if you find that you're fielding similar questions all the time. If you're answering a lot of questions about pricing or questions about your process, first of all, that might be a hint to you that you need to update some substance on your website. But having like a little FAQ section can be a really helpful piece. And a lot of times people don't know where to put that section, and having it kind of sit on its own page is often a waste of real estate, but you can kind of bring those in on your contact page. You can also kind of guide people into what kind of correspondence you want. So you can kind of suggest the types of questions that you would like to receive from them. If you have questions about my availability, if you have questions about my process, or what like when we can get started, those kind of things can really prompt them, oh, this is an appropriate use of this space. So you're not getting those like wishy-washy light questions, and you can really make sure that you're getting the meaningful correspondence from people who really want to work with you and are genuinely interested.
I thought this was a huge thing when we were working together. That was huge for me when you were like, okay, we have the contact page, which, they're filling out questions. Okay, that's great. We don't want to burden them with too many questions, but then having resources on there to then, because if you have free PDFs, or you have a nice handout, or you have blog posts that you want to bring them to, it's giving them more value, not just filling out the contact page. So I know for me, when we were working together, that was a big one that I was like, well, why didn't I think of that? This is amazing.
I think we think that it just has to be like a way for them to fill out your form.
Yeah.
And it is a powerful way, like whatever your process is, if a form or a survey or something like that is a prerequisite, absolutely put that there.
Yeah.
And also, if people aren't ready to reach out to you yet, you want to make sure that they can be in contact with you some way, whether that's guiding them to a resource they can really learn more about you, or other ways that you can communicate with them, social media, what have you. There is so much untapped potential there. So I'm glad that you found it so helpful on your own website.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
So those tips were amazing, and I so appreciate it. I think that's going to help a ton of business owners, whether they're just starting out, or they're looking to rebrand, or they're not happy with their website and they're wondering why it's not converting. So thank you so much for that. Another portion of the site that I just wanted to touch on. Now, as a brand photographer, I love process. I love capturing process. I love highlighting what makes them unique. And that kind of goes hand in hand when we're speaking about what makes someone unique. All the things that you have already said about, finding that language that makes you unique in your industry. Process for me is such a big category when I'm on brand photo shoots. Now, on my website, have kind of how do you work together? And I kind of outline. And I find that, and we worked on this too, like having a very clear path for people. Do you find that, one, this is an increasing area in a website, like maybe this wasn't the way 5 years ago, but now showcasing like how easy it is to kind of work with someone? And or do you recommend that most people have kind of like a how do you work together process piece to their website? Because I feel like that's not on everyone's radar.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's happening more and more often. And I think this speaks to service-based industries and service-based businesses who have that process. First and foremost, I think it's important to lay it out because we're always speaking in copy, especially on a website. You're speaking to the, high-level grazers, right? The people who are skimming the page. And we're also speaking to those fine print readers who are looking at every single detail. And we want to make sure that we are appealing to both of them in a visual way as well as in the words that we choose. So talking about your process is really important because it helps people, we want to make sure that we're taking them on a journey. And your process is it really is essentially that journey, right? We're walking them through the customer journey of being aware of your offer to then, whether it's purchasing or enrolling in a course or scheduling a kickoff call with you. So we want to get really clear on like, what is the most important thing, the most important action you want them to take when they land on your website.
Okay.
And I'm kind of taking a tangent here, but I think a common misuse of websites is having too many options all at the same time. So we're diverse people, right? We're diverse businesses. We have different things, but we really want to guide people to where they need to be most. So I like to think of a website, especially your homepage, as an airport terminal, right? Everybody's coming to the same place, but they all have a different agenda. They all have a different goal.
Right.
That fits within the spectrum of your offers. So we want to really make sure that they can get to that quickly so that they're not lingering, trying to see where do they fit into this equation? Where do they fit into this business and how can they leverage your skills? Because that's when they bounce, right? That's when they say, this is too many things that I don't know that this is for me. So we want to make it really clear what you offer, who it's for, so that they can continue to move through your funnel, essentially. And walking through your process takes all the guesswork out. First of all, it's going to be clear for them. Second of all, maybe more importantly, it's going to take all that heavy lift off of you. So when you're really clear about how to work together, what that process looks like, ideally somebody jumps on a discovery call with you and is like, I'm ready. How do we do this? And you don't have to take all that time to, make sure it's a good fit. Hopefully they can self-identify. I'm reaching out because this process is what I need and I can't wait to work with you. So it really helps it's always hard, right? We don't want to turn away business, but essentially we want to turn away the wrong people if it's not a good fit for you, not a good fit for them. So you can focus your attention on the people who are truly going to benefit from what you have to offer. So as you're writing that, it can be really cumbersome, right? We feel like there's so many details. Like Nicole, I think of your process. You have so many steps in a really great way, right? You don't just show up on photography day and like take pictures. There's a whole planning process. So how can we make sure that that process doesn't intimidate? Instead, it's like this feeling of, oh, she's got me covered from beginning to end. I have this experience, and really showcasing that in a way that's easy for them to grab and run with. So it's not, I think something tough on websites is explaining everything. And I think a concern I get from my clients a lot is I just have so much written, it's like word vomit and I don't know what to do with it or what's important. So getting your ideas on the page and then really paring it down and distilling it to what's the most important thing for them to know about each step. Is probably my best advice for getting that mapped out on your page.
It's amazing because I agree with all those points. It's like you really want them to be on a journey to get a good global view of what's ahead, not to overwhelm them, make it simple and easy. And if you do have a process that might on paper, when you write it all out, be like, whoa, this is a lot. This is where a copywriter comes into play because you can provide all this detail. And Sam can distill it down and bring it back to you in a concise way. And you're like, yes, this is exactly what I want people to feel when they're seeing the process, because you don't have to have every single part of the process written out. You can give them a great sense of what journey they'll go on without overwhelming, like if they were with you every step of the way. So that's amazing. The one other piece that I wanted to touch on is someone going through a process with you, Sam, going as a copywriter. They now have this amazing new website. So I have this amazing website. I don't want small business owners or business owners in general to have the copy stop there. With social media today, and I work with so many businesses where they may have gone through this process, maybe they haven't gone through this process, but they have a great website. Don't just leave all this amazing copy on your website. You can pull all these great taglines, how you're speaking to your clients, and now apply it to your social media posts. And because you have all this amazing work already done, I find it makes it easier to then create social media posts and those captions, because the visuals are going to make people stop and make them curious. What is this all about? What are they doing now? This is a new picture. But then when they jump to the caption, you just don't want it landing flat, like it's 3 words and that's it, and you move along. You want to utilize that caption for them to learn more and to then go to your website and dive deeper. And so don't just leave all that amazing copy on your website. Utilize it everywhere, because it's so powerful and all the work is done for you. You don't have to worry as much or stress as much on social. Do you have anything to add with that, Sam?
I couldn't agree more. And when we were chatting about it earlier, I thought it was so interesting, right? That somebody who focuses on the visuals, that is the captivating piece that's meant to stop them in their tracks and stop the scroll, so to speak. But that, just getting the like or the follow isn't enough, because it's really not. I'm a conversion copywriter, right? My goal is to help you get a sale. You're not a business if you're not making those sales and actually having clients. So we want to continue that conversation and ultimately drive them to your website, which is your kind of owned land, right? You're not relying on social media. It's something that you have control over, and can guide them even to your email list and these deeper ways of connecting with your ideal audience. But something you're touching on it that I think is so important is really recycling your copy, right? It doesn't have to just live in one place. It should be this whole collective, this world that you're creating, right? I think that's the importance of doing a copy project like this. When we work together, I really focus on the research and also like that brand voice, the messaging for your specific offers. How do I talk about my video services versus my photography services, for example? How do I set myself apart from others in my industry? And that doesn't mean you have to totally reinvent the wheel. You are what makes it different. So what do you do a little bit differently or more uniquely than others? And then taking that copy from your website, and maybe that's a great opportunity to write a blog post even about some of the challenges your ideal audience typically faces, because you just dug into that really deeply to make that website copy. And maybe that blog, you take a little blurb from that, and that's your social caption that drives to the blog. So really seeing how investing in copywriting, whether you work with a copywriter or even take the time to do it yourself, can really have a ripple effect on your messaging in your business. It's not standalone. It really can make that whole process a lot easier with that upfront heavier lift of really doing that deep dive. And I think a website is the place to do that. If you're choosing where to spend your copywriting budget, that is a great place.
Amazing. I think this has been such a valuable and helpful conversation. Do you have any last bit of advice or words of wisdom before we end this?
Yeah, I would say get rid of that notion that you're not a writer. I truly believe everyone has something to say. Even if you are not somebody who loves, sitting down and writing, lean on your audience, hear their voice. You do what you do for a reason. So let that passion come through. Lean on the support and the resources, right? We all have that thing that we're really strong at. So don't hesitate to outsource that support if and when you need. But also don't feel like you aren't capable. I think DIYing your copy is something everyone should know how to do, at least, even if it's down the road, you hand it off to somebody else or pull in that professional support. Being able to speak confidently about your offers and what you do is invaluable to your business, and in a way that you don't feel like you're salesy and pushy, right? Everybody always worries about that. But when it comes from a place of, what you're passionate about, doing good work and serving others, it's always going to come through as authentic and genuine. So do not hesitate to dive in, let it be messy, throw out the rough drafts, and be patient with yourself.
Yes. And don't wait until it's perfect, right? We were talking about that before, because you need to get the information out there so people can reach out and book you and you can build your business. So everything is a process. Every part of being a business owner is a process. Where you were 5 years ago is going to be different from where you are 5 years from now. So, and all these things can be adjusted, can be improved. So don't have that stop you from hitting that publish button on the website, going to investigate copywriters, website designers, photographers, even. Like, don't have all that hesitation and not knowing and wanting everything to be perfect before you make the leap. So thank you so much, Sam. I think a lot of people will love this conversation. If you are watching this and you have questions for Sam or myself, I'm going to leave all information at the end of this video about how you can contact us, but don't hesitate to ask any questions along the way. And we could always come back and do another chat if there's lots of questions.
Always game. I would love that. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thank you, Sam.